Gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Comrade! Labor right, them a go down, bong. Them a go down, bong. Them a go down. Is that? Margie, him a God picking. No hope their work if you touch Margie. Margie, him a God picking. No hope their work if you touch Margie. We now vote for Labour. Orange we a come out in now. If you love the PNP, who no step out for Marky G. Jamaica just come along with we. People time come, people time come, people time is up.
Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight.
Yeah, I say that we are pledge of allegiance.
Who's gonna run this town tonight?
Yeah, I say that we
We gonna run this town.
Make the trumpets play. Make the trumpets play.
Fuels as much as possible by renewable energy sources. Like solar and hydro and wind that we are blessed with in abundance. Similarly, we must produce food here to rely less on imports from abroad. We need to grow the Jamaican economy so that everyone has the opportunity to earn a good life right here where we live. Mr. Speaker, after the Minister of Finance's presentation, the country really needs to be reminded that it was the last PNP administration which in 2014 passed the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Act. It set the targets that now establish 60% of debt to GDP as something that we are required to meet by a prescribed date, and the rules and the formula in the fifth schedule to the Act that the government now uses to determine how much fiscal space they have. I chaired the Legislation Committee of Cabinet, which finalized the details of that act, working with others, including the present fiscal commissioner, who was at that time a technocrat in the Ministry of Finance. It is that transformational legislative achievement that has guided the fiscal policy decisions that have resulted in Jamaica's remarkable performance in debt reduction over the past 12 years. Even former Minister of Finance Nigel Clark had to acknowledge the PNP's role in steadying the ship in his 2020 budget presentation. He said, "Moving forward in a direction of national unity, I want to take a moment to recognize the work done by the prior administration, in particular, former Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller and former Finance Minister Dr. Peter David Phillips in doggedly pursuing the extended fund facility and rallying Jamaicans around it. That's right. The historical record is clear. The crucial reforms and economic management that have created the long-term stability in Jamaica's finances began with the last PNP administration under Portia Simpson Miller with Dr. Peter Phillips as Finance Minister. They understood the historic nature of their assignment and they championed change. We acknowledge that the current government continued what we had started. Jamaica has benefited from continuity in this journey. True. But let no one forget, we did the heavy lifting. We did the heavy lifting to take Jamaica out of a deep debt crisis. And we set Jamaica on a sustainable fiscal path. And this was after the JLP government of 2007 to 2011 couldn't cross it and run left it. It was not in their DNA, right, Julian? On Thursday, our spokesperson for finance irrefutably established that Jamaica's tremendous achievement in public debt reduction is a PNP baby. We are proud of that achievement and that legacy, and we remain, most importantly, we remain fully committed to fiscal discipline. Mr. Speaker, we will not do anything that would jeopardize the sacrifices that have been made by the Jamaican people to get our country where we are. Mr. Speaker, the JLP government loves to refer to running with it. Why was that comment ever made 2 decades ago? The then finance minister was referring to the continuation of the construction of the East-West Highway from Mandela to Maypen, which the Jamaica Labour Party had opposed. So opposed to it were they that they disciplined the mayor of Spanish Town at the time, Dr. Raymond Notice, for attending the opening of that leg of the highway. But in what can only be called a supreme irony, they have extended the same highway to Williamsfield, and that same highway is now being sold on the market to raise money for this coming fiscal year's budget. Oh, what a tangled web. Oh, what a tangled web they weave when they practice to deceive. Mr. Speaker, what about the current situation? The budget for this fiscal year now ending, 2024-25, was funded by over 70 billion of non-tax revenues, which came from the sale of 12 years of future income. That meant that what is to be earned over 12 years from Jamaica's future revenues from the Norman Manley International Airport was sold, and sold so that that money could be spent now. How was the money used? To finance various recurrent expenses, a one-time so-called reverse income tax credit, 1 year of some other tax relief that is going to be an ongoing annual cost to the budget, and some other expenditures. None of these will have a lasting beneficial impact on the future of this country. Mr. Speaker, recurrent expenditures ought properly to be funded from revenues generated in the year in which those expenditures are incurred, not by selling off future income and leaving the cupboard empty for years to come. Mr. Speaker, not one school, not one hospital, not one water reservoir, no other lasting national asset has been built with those funds. Nothing that will deliver solid benefits to the country throughout those 12 years when the income has been disposed of. And Mr. Speaker, when you add to that the 9 billion expected from the sale of the government's remaining shares in Trans-Jamaican Highway, the highway which we built, it looks, sounds, and smells like running with it to me. Yes. And there is more of this planned for this coming fiscal year. The revenue estimates for 2025-26, the coming year, have $139.8 billion of non-tax revenues, including financial distributions of $66.2 billion. I inquired of the Ministry of Finance as to the composition of the $66.2 billion of financial distributions. And I was told that, and I quote, the major sources are the National Housing Trust and the monetization of contractual cash flows. Well, Mr. Speaker, we know that the government is still taking the $11.4 billion out of the National Housing Trust each year. And this is despite the current Prime Minister, when he was opposition leader, committing in 2013 to amend the law and ring-fence the funds for its primary purpose. Do you recall that, Mr. Prime Minister? Let me remind you of your words. In an All Angles interview in 2013, you were asked, is it your belief in principle that the funds of the National Housing Trust should be ring-fenced exclusively for the benefit of NHT contributors? And Mr. Prime Minister, you answered, saying it should be ring-fenced to use for the objects and purposes of the legislation. Well, that never happened, and you're still taking it to fund the annual budget of the country. Mr. Speaker, if 11.4 billion of 66.2 billion is being taken from the NHT, then the other 54.8 billion must be from the so-called monetization of cash flows. I inquired further of the Ministry of Finance, and it has been confirmed that another large sale of future income is to take place in the coming year. However, despite my asking, no further details have been provided. Clearly, Mr. Speaker, this will be another run-with-it transaction, selling off future revenues to fund expenditures for this year's budget. In other words, further emptying the cupboard in the coming years with nothing lasting to show for it. This is not sound fiscal management. To the contrary, it is playing fast and loose with the future of the country. Mr. Speaker, Jamaica's economy needs to grow stronger and faster. When this government came to office 10 years ago, it quickly pronounced 5 in 4, 5% growth that would be achieved by the end of 4 years. You set up a ministry precisely named for achieving that, and you even had some economic ambassadors. Mr. Speaker, all this has been a colossal failure. Jamaica's annual growth rate from 2016 through 2019 was very sluggish, approximating just 1% per annum. We had the COVID hit, and then we had a short-lived post-recovery bounce after COVID. But the downward trajectory of growth has recommenced from the beginning of 2022. There was negative growth, as I've said, for the entire year of 2024, and we ended the year in a technical recession, there being 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. And I don't see why people are trying to deny that that is the case. I mean, it's just a technical definition and it's reality. The government blames the negative growth in 2024 on Hurricane Beryl, which caused approximately 2% of GDP in damage to the country, and some subsequent heavy rainfall. But the truth is that that really can't spin, Mr. Speaker, because several of our Caribbean neighbors, who in relative terms were hit even harder by Beryl, have been able to achieve economic growth of over 4% in 2024. The unacceptable situation is that Jamaica has lower growth rates than any other country in the Caribbean except Haiti, and Haiti has a unique set of challenges. So, after 9 years of this government, we have an economy stagnating like molasses, negative growth last year, a technical recession in the second half of the year, high cost of living, low standard of living, more people in low-paying jobs, brain drain like a runaway train, a chronic trade deficit, and the spending of future revenue that will leave the cupboard empty. The undeniable facts are that this government has mismanaged the economy and has failed to build on the strong growth, from the fiscal gains that we engineered when we were last in government. Jamaica cannot continue this way. Things have to change. Mr. Speaker, when we speak about change relating to the national development of the country, we know that it's a process. Change requires a vision, I stand on the shoulders of those who led the party that I now lead. They were champions of change, steering this nation to independence in the case of the Right Excellent Norman Washington Manley, and through the choppy waters of national development in the case of Michael Manley and P.J. Patterson and Porter Simpson Miller and Peter David Phillips. Social justice, equality of opportunity, these are the principles that guided their decisions and the processes as they will be mine. United with fresh ideas and solid plans, we are ready to assume the mantle of government to deliver growth, opportunity, and progress for all Jamaicans. Mr. Speaker, in his inspiring presentation last Thursday, that has ignited
Mr. Speaker, the member's time for speaking having expired, I beg to move that his time be extended sufficiently to allow him to complete his presentation. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
The required, desired motion is on the floor. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. You may continue.
Today I want to talk to you about the importance of getting enumerated. Now, imagine looking around your constituency, your community, and identifying things that you want changed, but you don't have a say in making those changes. If you get registered to vote today or before March 31st, you'll become eligible to vote by May 31st. So I want to implore you to get on the voters list, get registered, so that you can have a meaningful say in the changes that are effected in your constituency.
Jamaica, time coming up. Time come, the date has finally announced. Everybody come vote for Mark Golden. Because fold your fist, wave your hand, because walk around district
with your leader, Comrade Mark. Time come. Time come. Time come for the PNP.
I practice my ex. Because I want to make sure that my part don't spoil this election day. Long time them labor right there for gone, you know. Them two uncaring, man. Make sure that I mark the ex right there, so. Because I don't want the ballot spoil. See that ex, yeah? For the teacher, them want to get them pay. You see that ex, yeah? And for the people them want dead pan hospital bench because they never have no bed. You see that ex, yeah? And for the police them want work overtime and can't get them overtime pay. Yeah, man. See how that ex, yeah? And for the big salary what the politician them give themselves, and I can't get little salary to the people them. That ex right now, yeah. For the nurse them. The nurse them. Or if you are working long hours and can't get no pay, if you go a foreign if you try to survive. You see, oh man, that ex, yeah? This is because that time they take the bulldozer and mash up the house them out of Clifton. You see that ex, yeah? And the arrogance and the dictatorship where they try to run the country under. You see one there right there, so I feel all of the disrespect what they want to come give Jamaican. I make sure I say me mark my ex properly. Time come for a change. Time come for a better Jamaica.